Hi everyone, and welcome back to my No Buy Year. Today's video is just going to be a little bit of a chat about Christmas and birthdays and receiving gifts. So this is a completely unresearched video. I do have plans to do some research on the approach to gifting, attitudes towards gifting, and kind of maybe collect some more data about how the holiday season and gifting have been tied together, and talk more about that as the season draws closer. I am hoping to do a Vlogmas in December, so this is probably going to be a topic that I cover more in detail then. Today I'm just going to be chatting about it because, as I've found, having the impending holiday season, which comes with the occasions of Christmas and, for me, my birthday in January, is kind of plunging me back into the depths of looking at things to buy and planning to eventually acquire some new things. I've already touched on a couple of these things in videos that I've already posted on here. So I talked about wanting a $500 pair of jeans and how my husband is on board with getting those for Christmas, possibly. And I've already kind of touched on some other aspects of clothing purchases in the video where I talked about if I could just keep one favorite item in each clothing category. One of the reasons why clothing is such a big part of things that I like to want and buy is something I'm also going to be examining in a future video, maybe next week. So this is a web of many ideas, multifaceted. I also did a long discussion on why I think $500 jeans may or may not be worth it. So you can go tune into that here if you somehow haven't seen that already. But Christmas and birthdays in my family historically have been associated with giving gifts. Now, we don't have an extended family gift system, and I think our system for that, for adults at least, is that we probably won't do gifts specifically. You know, if we come across something that we think somebody might like, it's not that we're not allowed to give a gift, but we don't have the expectation that adults will get and give each other gifts. In our immediate family, however, there is the tradition of having gifts under the tree, and that includes gifts for mom, for dad, for the grandparents, for all the kids, of course. And I am not prepared. I have not prepared this year. I didn't really think this far ahead as far as what I was going to do about the gift-giving occasions and acquiring new things for me. At the very beginning of this no-buy year, I had exceptions in my rules for non-gift giving occasions that I thought were gift giving worthy at the time, like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. I think those are the only ones, but those are not occasions now in the present day that I would consider worthy of getting a gift. And once again, if somebody wants to get a gift for mom on Mother's Day, I think that's an okay thing to happen. And if somebody, a significant other wants to get a gift on Valentine's Day, that's fine. But now, after doing the work of the no-buy year to this point, I don't really see that as an occasion for a wish list and your partner to maybe choose something off a wish list, which is essentially what happened to me this year, right? For Valentine's Day, I kind of justified getting a bunch of those Summer Fridays lip balms. They're not cheap lip balms, but on the scheme of gifts, on the scheme of $500 pants, they were a relatively cheap gift. I mean, I might have spent $80 to $100 on 5 of those lip oil, lip balm things, but I'm still using them today, and I have learned my lesson as far as how to acquire multiples of something like that, and also using occasions that aren't really gift worthy for receiving gifts. So progress has been made. You can believe that next year, even though it may or may not be an official no-buy 2.0, I will not have an exception on my list for Valentine's Day. I will not have an exception for Mother's Day. Things are going to look different because of the growth and learning that have occurred within myself. I kind of talked about this in the video about whether something's worth $500 or, associated narratives. I kind of talked about how I am the lab rat and the scientist in this no-buy experiment. So in observing my behavior of growth and navigating obstacles in this past year, I have been able to change my environment. The scientist has modified the conditions so that next year, Valentine's Day is not associated with buying something I want for myself or getting somebody to buy something I want for me. Likewise, Mother's Day, 4th of July, any other holidays that often have sales that go with them. Let's be real here. In America, every holiday is hijacked by companies of marketing and forcing products and advertisements and the good deal and the FOMO and any excuse, Labor Day sales and Memorial Day sales and Veterans Day sales and 4th of July sales and first season of summer, whatever, back to school sale. Everything is a sale. Everything is an occasion to sell us some stuff. So I am not going to have any of these willy-nilly sales holidays as an occasion to buy things, especially things that I don't actually need, things that I want. However, Christmas and birthdays, still something about these holidays, these occasions, to me, is still tied with the act of receiving something that you don't strictly need. And in theory, if I'm able to abstain from wanting things and buying things that I want in a kind of wanton, unregulated way, I don't know that I'm going to reach the level of completely not wanting anything, because I don't always feel that I control what I see and want. I control it a lot more now than I used to, right? I watch the content I watch. I regulate the content that I watch. I mean to say, I ask whether I need to be watching it before I watch it. I am exposed to much less influence this way. I am not influenced in the categories that I do not want to be influenced. And even if I am now, I see it much more for what it is, as far as anything being a thinly veiled sales pitch. And whether or not I actually need to try the thing that they're hyping is not an essential anymore. It's not even the next category. It's not what follows in that sequence of events. Whereas when I was at my height of being influenceable or influenced or consuming this content, that kind of was a next step in the process. I would see something, see someone talking about it in a very positive way, and then I would think, do I need to try that? Should I try that? Would that add value to my life? Now I see that and I move on. In fact, I have a hard time even consuming some of that content that's like, oh my gosh, this is the latest and greatest. Cool, don't need it. I don't want to know that production is continuing for things that we don't really need more options of in the first place. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Christmas and birthdays, if I manage to not be buying things willy-nilly throughout the year, I do still kind of feel that these are reasonable occasions to add something new and non-essential to my wardrobe. It could even just be new to me, right? Thrifted is fine. I'm not about, new and shiny and never used. That's not what I mean. I just mean if there's something that I want and don't need, but would like to try anyway. And, I have had some comments throughout the no-buy about how no-buy is kind of restrictive and aesthetic and kind of masochistic. How do I pronounce that? A word that you read and don't say out loud. I've had comments kind of critiquing that aspect of no-buy. But at the same time, when do we say that it's acceptable to acquire something we don't strictly need? Because the nature of we don't need it is we don't need it. And therefore we shouldn't actually have to acquire these things ever. I don't need any more clothes, right? I have things to cover my body with that will probably last the duration of the rest of my life, even if I live to 100. Let's just be optimistic here. And unless I have significant size changes, I can live the rest of my life without acquiring any new clothes. Will I be happy that way? I think I actually could be happy that way. But is it wrong to ever update, say, a pair of jeans or a bag or a sweater in my wardrobe? I'm also operating from a place of having more clothes than I would like to have and trying to get that number organically down, get used to a more reasonable quantity. And part of that is not replacing things as they leave my wardrobe. So it is a little bit tricky to navigate, especially when most of the things that I do want that I don't need are articles of clothing. So there's that kind of obstacle as well. But I think I'll cover more of that in a dedicated chat about liking fashion and approach to acquiring new things in the wardrobe. So back to Christmas and birthdays. I have also had a comment discussion about families who don't do gifts at all. And instead, they'll either have a vacation experience or make a donation to a charity. What a great idea, right? Nobody's going to be able to say that that's a bad thing to do, to forego the gifts in your family, to support better causes, people who are more in need, less fortunate than ourselves might be, or even to put it towards an experience, right? All of those are great things, but it's a hard habit to change. And I think for some people it takes more effort, more work, more motivation, more impetus than simply saying, what a great thing to do. Let me just not buy any gifts this year and just pivot us to that. And I'm not saying that any commenter suggested that, right? I'm not saying anybody is imposing that that's the best way, the only way, and saying everybody should do that. I'm not trying to insinuate that. So this is not a reflection on people leaving this comment. This is just a discussion of habit change, right? Because I'm not opposed to decreasing the level of consumerism for our family over the holidays and birthdays as well. However, more cognitive work on my part is going to have to be done in order to contextualize that for myself as well as for my kids and my family. All of that to say, I guess, that I don't feel like this year is the year that major traditional changes are going to be made. So the kids will probably still get some gifts. I will probably still get some things that I have wanted on my wish list, likewise my husband as well. What I'm instead focusing on for this year is managing what's reasonable as far as quantity of things, as far as budget, as far as, balancing things that are practical in use that we also want but don't strictly need. I kind of did a big chat about that in the video where I talked about if I could only keep one thing in my wardrobe, right? If you approach it from the practical angle of like, this would be my favorite one, this would get the cost per wear, use value, practical value, rather than making less thought out choices, not based on actual data, and possibly ending up with something that's going to be decluttered or be a regret or not be what you thought it would be. I guess honing the muscles that make what you think something will be more accurate to reality is what I'm working on for this holiday season. Same with kids' gifts, right? I have observed how they interact with their toys, with their clothes, with their books, and I'm going to try to apply that knowledge to make thoughtful purchases. Or I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of purchases from last Christmas even. I have a lot of things already that I've kind of reserved from birthdays and other kind of occasions where I might have acquired things leading up to it. And then when the occasion came, it was like, well, they don't actually need this much. So I still have some things in reserve. Like I said, I needed to go on a no-buy year, right? So in the years previous to this year, I would kind of accumulate things. It might be at the thrift store or on the secondhand apps, but sometimes I would see like a board game. These are some of the things I have in reserve. So luckily my kids are not old enough to be watching this. I have a couple of board games. I have some books that I thrifted over the years past that I didn't want to overload them with last Christmas or birthdays and still have. So I don't actually need to do a lot of shopping this year. The main point of relevancy to my no-buy here is because of this time presenting an opportunity or an occasion or a tradition that I'm not yet ready to completely step away from of acquiring new things for myself. And I did have those holiday exceptions in my no-buy rules, even if I didn't stipulate Christmas presents, birthday presents. And my birthday is technically next year, but I kind of do the shopping at the same time because sales season and whatever. I don't like to be shopping, especially after my no-buy. I don't want to be shopping all the time, kind of over a longer period of time. I would like to kind of consciously think about it and get it all done. I also think if I consider Christmas and birthday kind of together for me, even if I'll receive some of the things a month later, it will help me kind of hone in what a reasonable amount of things to acquire might be for this year of gifting. And, some of you watching might be disagreeing with me. You might be sitting there thinking, this is so hypocritical. You're on a no-buy and here you are finding more ways to buy things that you want. And you would be right. I would agree with you. And no, I don't need to get some things that I want but don't need for the holiday season. I am in a very fortunate, privileged position to be able to both afford things that I want and don't need, have the space for them, not be under more stress. I actually tend to have some more income over the holidays due to my work as a musician. There's more gigs and more functions for music. And I understand, I'm in a very fortunate position. I'm grateful for everything I already have, and I don't actually need to buy anything. And here I am, might be about to buy things for myself for the holidays, or, keep a wish list for my husband to have some things under the tree for me for the holidays and for my birthday. There is a lot of hypocrisy here. And like I said in my other video, I at least hope to be open about it and kind of contextualize this for anybody who might be going through the same thing of wanting to be a conscious consumer, but also not being ready to give up stuff from the holidays. Like I said, the first step for me is if I manage to have a much more conscious approach to not buying things I don't need for the rest of the year, then it does become a true treat for, say, my birthday or for Christmas, when that is the time of indulgence. Is it good to have holidays and occasions where indulgence is condoned and enabled by society? I don't know. You see, this is a bridge a little bit too far for me right now. I can attest that having a general environment of enabling consumerism every day of the year, every sales season of the year, I don't think that's good. But over the holidays, over birthdays, again, possibly I've just been indoctrinated with these consumerist attitudes associated with holidays since my early childhood. And perhaps that's why it's so hard to break free of these consumerist impulses. You know, Santa Claus brought me presents as a child, right? So maybe I still want presents as an adult, and it's hard to break out of it. And this could be ridiculous to some of you. Maybe some of you outgrew presents when you were not a child anymore, and maybe you don't have a problem with buying yourself things over the year or for Christmas. And I congratulate you. I admire you. I hope this is the case for everybody out there, that you are consuming at the level that you think is appropriate and are able to abstain from it when you don't want to be. You are not influenced. I hope all of this is true for those of you out there watching and those of you not watching. This is where I am. This is where the lab rat is today, this holiday season, and being confronted with the decisions about what to add to my wish list, essentially what to buy, because let's be real, if I put something on my wish list for my husband to buy, I'm kind of buying it for myself or dictating the purchase, so it's really the same. So I'm not really operating under any illusions or justifications that that's better in some way. I guess the question kind of becomes, if we don't do physical gifts, how do we celebrate instead? And I have a wealth of options of, things one could do as a family or as an individual or as a couple or with friends that one could do to celebrate instead. But even with this knowledge, it doesn't necessarily separate the occasion from the gifts, right? Because in previous years, I've done both experiences and gifts. So it still does kind of feel like I just kind of cut off one aspect of what I've been accustomed to for a Christmas and a birthday. While I'm not opposed to it, while I think doing things like a charity donation or even just saving your money, to be honest, even if you're just in a position where you're building up your retirement or emergency fund, while giving is amazing and great, and I do hope to do some of that this year with some of my YouTube income, as I consider that completely extra as well as community funded, I understand as well if we need to put on our own oxygen masks first before we can really feel secure enough to give. Although there are different philosophies about how giving, even when you're not in a position of feeling secure yourself, is a path to feeling happier and more useful in society, more content perhaps. But anyway, that's another thing I'm probably going to explore during the month of December, and how giving impacts us as an individual, as a part of society. So anyway, this is just an introductory chat to the holidays, gifting, perceptions around gifting, my awareness that have been kind of indoctrinated with these ideas that stuff is attached to the holidays. There are categories that I'm not as much a part of, right? I'm not hugely into home decor. I have a bin of Christmas decor that's been the same ever since my husband and I have been together, and we have not really been adding to that at all. And we're fine with what we have. There are categories, we try to get a real tree every year as one of our Christmas traditions, so we don't have the plastic tree or anything like that. Not that that's one of those is better or worse necessarily, but again, maybe I need to do some more research and talk about that on a different day. I'm curious to hear more of your attitudes towards Christmas and birthdays as gift-giving occasions. If you've managed to break out of that mentality or kind of move on, what have you done? What does it look like? How have you managed, do you feel like your gifts in Christmas, birthdays, is it out of control for you as an individual, or for your kids, or for other members of your family? Are there expectations that you're trying to navigate? Where are we at? I'm just curious. I feel like I'm not the only one who has a strong attachment to gifts at this time of year, just because it is so pervasive in both marketing and our conception of the holiday season, no matter what kind of occasions you celebrate. I would love to hear more about people who celebrate other holidays than Christmas at this time of year, or other times of year even. Are there strong associations with gifts? Are there any maybe cultures or groups of people that celebrate other holidays that don't have anything to do with gifts? I am in the stage of gathering information, both from asking you out there and looking around myself, so that I can approach this from a more open angle over the 24 days of Vlogmas, 24, 25 days, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I manage to pull that together. Thank you so much for being here for the introduction of this conversation, and I will see you for more. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Oh, and to get into some more specifics, I am trying to have more of a limit on the number of gifts for kids this year and for myself. You know, the guideline of something to wear, something to read, something to want, something you need, 4 gifts, something like that. And then for kids, they get gifts from the grandparents as well, so it wouldn't just be the 4 gifts. But I don't know, for myself or for my husband, maybe the 4 gift rule is a good place to start and can be adapted as necessary. I may not need anything more to read, but maybe it's just 4 things that I want, because I also don't know if there's anything that I would say that I need either. So it'd be like something to want, something to wear, something to also want, which is also something to wear. Maybe some makeup or beauty purchase. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Kind of an obligatory framework, but maybe trying to stick to 4 gifts is just the beginning of this process. Who knows? Bye for now again.